Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Eventful Endeavors. Today we are here with Sally Shin, the owner and creative mind behind Pretty Little Events, which is a West Coast-based events planning company. So first of all, Sally, thank you so much for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Shawn, for having me.
So the way we always like to start out with everybody we have on is just kind of asking how you got started in this industry. What was the story there?
I sort of fell into it. I have a background in hotel restaurant management. So in my corporate life, I used to plan private events and do a lot of things with restaurants and event spaces. And the transition just seemed super natural. The next step, once we started having kids, I really didn't have the time to be able to do mom and then work nights, weekends, holidays, hospitality hours. So it's just a transition and it just made sense.
Right. So then you can kind of make your own schedule more doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So work, be home and be present during the week, and then on the weekends have parties and weddings.
Sure.
Yeah.
So are you doing is it mostly just weddings or you do all kinds of events? Like what's your kind of main focus with the company?
Our bread and butter is really social events. So any type of
Okay.
social events that entails like birthdays, showers, corporate events, holiday parties, and then we have a few weddings throughout the year. We used to focus on weddings, but now we're in a life stage where we have so many parties and so many things in one day, like a one Saturday that our weddings are very limited and we take on just a few a year.
Okay, so you actually do you have like a relatively decent sized team so you can do multiple events in one day?
Correct. Yeah. I have about
Nice.
5 girls right now. And they are all over, and depending on the area, whether it's LA, Orange County, San Diego, they're there to assist on the weekends. So if we have multiple things going on a Saturday, then we have, all of us who would be available to do like one party here and then someone else is doing another party or setup or breakdown. So
Yeah, that makes life so much easier to start expanding so you don't have to get sucked into everybody wanting their event on the same date.
yeah,
So I
there's
love
only a
that.
limited number of
Yeah,
Saturdays in a month. You have four
I know.
Saturdays and trying to
Yeah,
maneuver everything. But yeah,
right.
absolutely, we make it work.
So when did you go solo? When did you start the company? When did you leave the corporate world and do that?
Yeah. Well, it's been a journey for us because when we first started, there was no such thing as social media. So,
Wow.
16 years ago, when I first got my client, very first client, I went to her house. It was an in-person meeting. There's no Zoom, there's nothing like that.
Sure.
No FaceTime. So I went to her house, gave her this portfolio that I had printed, and she looked through. It was kind of like a lookbook, and she looked through our past events and she hired me. So the first good 8 years of it, I feel like, was all word of mouth, just trying to get your word out there through different websites. And then social media came along and Instagram came along, and that's when I really felt like, okay, it's a lot easier to get the word out there. It's a lot easier to get connected with so many people. So we really made the jump doing this full time about 7 to 8 years ago.
Okay, cool. With the social media boom and everybody being able, is that still how you get most of your stuff is just through like social media
Yeah.
spreads and word of
Oh,
mouth like
yeah.
that?
Most definitely. Well, now we've been doing this for so long that we have a good clientele and they come back
Right.
to us year after year. But yeah, any new inquiries or anything like that, or they've seen something on Instagram, oh, I love this party that you did. I think social media is a huge thing for small businesses. So yeah, Instagram is great. Facebook's kind of phasing out, but
Sure.
I need to get on like TikTok. I hear TikTok's good.
I I've talked to so many people about this, and I can't. I want to, but I've not. I'm bad at Instagram still. Like I'm still like learning social media, and like I don't have like it takes like making little mini movies. It just seems so
Yeah,
daunting.
it's another full-time job.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, it just seems so tiring to do all that. But yeah,
Daunting,
it's
yeah.
definitely something everybody's on nowadays. So I'm sure it's only a matter of time where we have to be on it.
We have, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, I need a tutor. So speaking of social media, so this is always interesting. Because I've always played and done the shows, but I didn't get into the events world until like the last 5 years, really, like doing the corporate stuff. So social media was already really big then. So aside from like, word of mouth spreading, your business, how has social media kind of like changed with uh, like trends, like things you've seen that you
Yeah.
used to see at events that now they don't, people can see things on TikTok or Instagram and be like,
Uh-huh.
I want that at my event. Like, have you noticed a lot of that, like uniqueness
So
coming because of that?
I mean, it is super unique because in the party world, right? Everything is visual. Whether
Right.
it's some sort of an installation or some sort of a design, everyone's seeing this little picture in a square. So when they reach out, they're like, "I want this. This is what I want." And then you start to get into like budgeting and the realities of how much every single thing costs. So a lot of social media and a lot of clientele that come to us and they don't know what a budget should be or what a good budget should be to achieve that. So it's a lot of it is just sharing, how much things are, giving them the knowledge like, hey, this is how much a cake goes for nowadays.
Right.
A 2-tier, 3-tier cake could go for $500 and up. And when you're looking at one little Instagram post, really breaking down how much things are. I think clients are like, oh, okay, so they don't see that there's a price tag behind it. And it's our job as designers to be able to take a client's vision or a client's budget. Everyone has a budget, everyone has their
Sure.
own vision, and then making it into a reality, right? So whether it's scaling it down or doing a version of that. So I think social media is a lot of it is like um, what we see is not real.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's I think the challenge, and with the cost of everything being, our cost of materials, cost of wood, paint, to produce these things, overhead, everything has gone up, in the last,
Yeah.
after COVID. So it's very difficult because automatically right there's already a 30% increase in what our budgets used to look like even like 3 years ago.
Yeah. I've noticed that too. Everything got much more expensive after COVID.
Very, yeah,
Um, I mean, myself included, it just things changed,
yeah.
after that thing. So, you kind of mentioned budgeting, so that makes me wonder, whereabouts in the process do you usually come in with your clients? Like, have they already kind of found a venue? Do they have sort of an idea of what they want to do, and then you come in and kind of mold it? Or do they just come to you and say, like, Sally, like, I want to throw this event. It's all you. Or is it a combination of both?
We love that. We love when clients come to us and say, "Hey, this is," and they're really just, upfront. This is how much I want to spend. This
Yeah.
is where we are, and then we just kind of take it and run with it. That's probably the best case scenario because then we're able to manage the whole project as a whole and really know, like, okay, how much we're going to allocate towards the venue, how much are we going to allocate towards food and beverage. What is your flower budget going to look like? So we can really just line item everything, and if they bring us on in the beginning process. However, some clients come to us and say, "Oh, I'm having my party here." Okay, then I can gauge. All right, well, you still need rentals. You still need,
Right.
music or whatever. So then I can budget that way. So we're really, we have a full planning service. We also have a partial planning service, and then we have day of. So day
Okay.
of is it's similar to weddings, similar to what we do with wedding planning. Same thing with party planning because now a party is like a second wedding. Everyone's, these parties are getting super extravagant, super, um, like even for kids parties where
Yeah.
it feels like sometimes we're planning another wedding. So yeah, so the process is really similar when it comes to weddings and parties for us. And then it's just on a smaller scale for like a birthday or something. So yeah, we could come in at any point. A lot of the times people do come to us because they've seen something. They're like, "Oh, I love this thing you did with this party, this design, or the balloons or whatever." So that's how that first, that's, what catches their eye first. And then we have that conversation, that consultation, like, okay, great. Like what are we working with? Where's your venue? And then we get into the
Right.
logistics of everything.
So, along the lines of like, doing all these weddings or all these events and having like, a lot of people on your team, how do you cap yourself like at a year of like a certain amount of events you want to do, or like how many can you do throughout an entire year? Do you
Yeah.
limit it? Like, what's your kind of capacity there?
Yeah, that's a good question. COVID changed all of that, everything.
Sure.
I mean, before COVID, I don't even remember life as an event planner before COVID. I
It's a
think like
different
that.
world.
Yeah, it's like that boom happened where, we
Right.
couldn't celebrate for a year or 2 years. People started canceling their baby showers. So they're like, oh my gosh, I never had a baby shower. Now I want to go all out on my baby's first birthday or whatever this, even graduations.
Right.
Oh, I didn't graduate senior year because it was during COVID. I want to have a huge
Mhm.
graduation party or, for college or whatnot. So, so it changed everything. And I think with the boom, the event industry really showed up. I mean, we were working like crazy,
Yeah.
for a little bit, for that year after everything opened up. I think everyone was celebrating something.
It
And
was
it was
nuts.
yeah, it was a great year for us to really just pump out tons of events. And I think, I don't know, like 60 to 80 events in one year. I
Wow.
want to say that's kind of the number where we were. Of course, that's not the norm. That's not what 2023 or 2024 is going to look like.
Sure.
Um, Definitely 2024, I've seen, a huge, like, a quiet time in January and February. And then things are starting to pick up again because the weather's getting nicer, or I don't know what it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would love some insight on that. But yeah, I think now a comfortable number so we don't kill ourselves is not 60 to 80 for sure, because that was um, definitely just working all the time,
Right.
never seeing family, not having, work life balance, not having a single Saturday, Sunday off. So I would say like 50 would be great.
Right.
That way we can really focus on elevating our events, giving our clients more time, even
Um,
one-on-one time, because, with 60 to 80 events, it was definitely, there wasn't enough hours in a day. So yeah, I think this year is going to be one of those years where it's going to really show us where are we going to be with events. How many events are we going
yeah.
to do a year? Yeah, so it's changing again.
Right. And we're kind of getting into that, like, okay, the COVID boom happened. Now that's
Hmm.
settled down. Now we're back to like, okay, so this is going to be kind of the new normal for a bit,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
So
confused. I know you're in California, I'm in California, and I'm confused because I thought like January was usually my slow season, and then January was insane this year. So
oh, good
there's
for
like
you.
no consistency with like
Yeah,
when it's going to be
yeah,
slow out here. I have no
yeah.
idea anymore.
Yeah,
So
I mean, us too. January is historically the slowest month.
yeah,
And this year for us, but we did have all of a sudden like January 1, 2, 3, like we started off the year just like
yeah,
working, and then a couple of weeks of, downtime, which was great. And then just recuperating from the holidays, and then
right,
trying to get back into it again.
yeah. So let me ask you this, because you've done a lot of events, and this is always one of my fun things to ask is like, out of all the events you've done, what's something that stands out to you as being super unique? Like one of the most unique things you've seen in an event, something that first thing that pops into your head of like, that was really, really cool.
So we do a lot of kids parties, and none of our kids' parties are ordinary. They're
Sure.
very over the top, and our clients really love to celebrate, go big or go home type of thing.
Yeah.
And the number one Instagram post we had last year was this Bluey party. Do you know what Bluey is?
No, what's Bluey?
So it's a show on Disney, but it's like a
Okay.
cartoon. And like my daughter is obsessed with it. I don't know if you have kids.
No, I don't, not yet,
Okay.
but
All
so I'm
right.
not familiar with Bluey. I'm sure
Okay.
eventually I will know what Bluey
But
is, but yeah.
like adults love this show. It's a
Yeah.
cartoon, but adults even
Okay.
love it because the it's written so well and the story's so great. So you should watch an episode.
I
But
should
it's
watch it. Yeah.
called Bluey. But it's we did this elevated Bluey party, and I don't even know. It's like the biggest party. Like so many shares. Like the number one post. So
Wow.
it's really memorable because it was like a cartoon. you would think you
Yeah.
would think like, oh, it's just a little kids party, but it was more than that because I think how we approach the party is if you go to a kids party, say, Shawn, I don't know the last time you've been to a kids party, but how are you going to
My
make it
brother.
fun for adults? How are
Right.
adults going to find it in environment or atmosphere where like, oh, this is chic, this is nice, this is not, what I thought a kids party would
Yeah.
be like, but still keeping it approachable and friendly because after all, it's a kids party.
Yeah,
So
of course.
that one definitely was super memorable. We did a lot of cool things. We did a fringe installation, a balloon installation. We brought in like different lounge seating, table seating, cocktail seating. We had full service catering, entertainment. So it's just one of those moments where I was like, like this is the party that I would want to attend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I wish I'd seen the show. So were people like in costume, or was it just like the decor? Like what was like the thing that everybody was like that just
I think it
the
was
idea of it,
because,
you know?
yeah, I think it's because the design was pretty impactful.
Sure.
When you walk into it was on a basketball court, and we
Nice.
had transformed the basketball court. You would never know that that's what it was. So when
Wow.
you walked into the space, you're just automatically transported to, this Bluey world. And you would not know that underneath you, underneath the grass was hardscape. Like
Right. Yeah.
we brought in, flooring and everything. So
That's awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, I've never seen the show, but that's interesting because our gig, we don't do a lot of children's party because we play
yeah,
a lot of older music, songs for adults, so we don't
yeah,
do a lot of that stuff. So I never even thought that like kids. I mean, my birthday parties when I was younger, we didn't do anything fancy like that. So I'm
no,
jealous.
yeah. And neither
You
did
know?
we.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that sounds like they're throwing big parties for the kids, and that's a lot of fun. So, similar question. This is always my favorite one. Is on the flip side of that, what is kind of your, I call it like the do not do this kind of list in any type of event, like something that you're like, I always tell my clients, like, if you think this is a good idea, it's not, it will be cringy. I've seen it. It never works. Or even further than that, like something you've seen that actually was so uncomfortable, just very cringy, that has led to you making these rules.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my number one rule in event planning is even if you're going to create one little moment, whether it's like the
Okay.
main focal point where you take photos, or like the cake, or to really make at least one area like an impactful, well put together, intentional space. Because
Sure.
a lot of the times I think when people try to do it on their own, um, they spread themselves too thin and they think, okay, well, I have this space, but I have to decorate all of it. So then when they try to decorate the whole space, it looks really sparse. Whether
Right.
it's like, okay, trying to put, helium balloons here, and then the rest of the room looks, really bare. So why not use that budget to make at least one area impactful? Because you're going to take all of your photos there in that area, whether
Right.
it's that backdrop or that area where you're going to take all your group pictures, like an Instagrammable moment. I think is what everybody's looking for. So when things become cringy, I think is um, when I see DIY done and it's not they're not focusing their attention on like creating that one moment, and then everything else just kind of falls, short.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I want to ask because I've noticed a lot of what you've kind of been talking about throughout this conversation is a lot of like decor based stuff and that kind of thing. So is that your main passion? Like when you do these events, are you really into like decor and like the look of it more than like the logistics and all that stuff? Is that where you think like you really shine?
I think we're known for our designs. And I think that's what attracts our clients because they have the same sort of
Sure.
aesthetics. Everything that happens behind the scenes, whether it's a timeline or a schedule or lining up vendors, budgeting, space planning, menu planning, staffing needs, seating chart.
Right.
I feel like our clients, that's not the fun part. That's not why they
Yeah.
want to partner with a planner.
Sure.
We do all of that, and I think that's a huge chunk of the work that we do behind the scenes to really pull off events like this. You definitely do have to focus on making sure that you do have a solid timeline and things for the party. But for the most part, when I'm on a phone call with a client, they want to talk about design. They want to talk about color palette. They want to talk about, oh, this is my theme. This is my vision. So I think that's what really shines through, especially in social media where you're judging everything by a picture or judging everything by what you see in a story or a reel. But we do 100%. Half of our job is behind the scenes, making sure all of those elements that you're talking about, like outside of design, is taken care of too.
I think people sometimes don't realize how much actually goes into planning these things.
Yes. And I don't think people think about it either because a lot of my clients, when we do hop on a call and we talk about, the design or whatnot, they're not asking, okay, so how many surfers are we going to have? They don't want to talk about it. I actually have to bring it up and be like, okay, to execute your party and to make sure it goes off seamlessly, we need the staff. So those are the conversations we have to have to logistically execute a party. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, and this kind of segues me into my next question is because, I notoriously have told several people on this podcast that when I got married, I naively was like, I don't need a wedding planner. I'll be fine. And then learned very quickly that was the dumbest decision I could ever make. And I did get one and it was
good.
So worth it. Like I learned my lesson very early. Like I said, I hadn't gotten into events before that. Now I look back on my young self and I'm like, you were not smart. So my question then is like, with anybody just starting to plan an event of any kind, like what's your number one piece of advice? Step one, like, what's your piece of advice? What would you say?
Just research, because I think a lot of the time when clients come to us and they don't really know what things are going for, like how you said you didn't think you needed a planner. But, once they've done their due diligence, they've done their own research, they'll soon realize, oh, wow, okay, I'm in over my head. I do need the help. I am, at the very least, going to need a day of coordinator for my wedding because otherwise, I'm the bride and I'm going to be doing all that.
Yeah.
I think just knowing that if you want to enjoy that day where you have spent, a year, 2 years planning and spending, investing so much into it financially and just your time, that it goes off and that you're able to enjoy it and be a guest of your own celebration. And then really having like priorities of, okay, what is most important to us? Is it the photography? Is it the food? Is it the experience for our guests? Is it the flowers? So really kind of having like, okay, my top 5 things that are most important, and then after that, maybe the lesser important things like invitations. We don't really care about the paper and what paper suites look like or we don't really need a videographer. So just having kind of a list of what's most important for you.
Right. And that, in theory, that should also help with your budget a little bit too, right? Because then you can be like, well, we want to save some money for what's more important for you. And this is less important. So, when you look at that kind of thing, is that kind of how you can
Oh
manage
yeah,
it as well?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Because we've had a lot of brides in the past who, want to make sure their photography, food, and flowers really stand out.
Right.
But they're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna DIY my invitations.
Sure.
Save $500 to $1,000 there on invitations. So for sure, it really prioritizes
Yeah.
where we allocate budget.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's definitely something to look at going forward. I mean, I always tell people when I talk to them for the first time, like, because I do the music. So I'm like, where's that list for you at most important? Like,
Yeah.
are we up there? Or we are like, we care more about how it looks. Then cool.
Yeah.
That way I know, like, if this is important to you, like, let's have a chat about it. So
I mean, I'm going through that right now with a couple. They're like weighing out the pros and cons of, okay, if we have a DJ and an MC versus, a live band,
right.
and how much that's going to cost and how that's going to fluctuate the budget. But and then I have another bride who wants to have a DJ. It's not super important, but it kind of is because she expressed, hey, I want a DJ that's going to bring the energy, that's going to get people onto the dance floor, that's going to create that moments where they're not just sitting at the table and they're going to come out and participate. So yeah, in that case, if a bride is telling me that 100%, I think it's so important to get the right DJ, MC on board. Yeah.
Yep. And this is why it's good to have planners like you, because you probably have a network of many DJs that who's good at what, so you can pull from, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Their personalities, are they, more outgoing? Are they going to bring that higher energy? Or some, brides and grooms, they don't, maybe that's not the vibe they want to create. Yeah.
Everybody's different, and that's why it's good to have somebody, you can sit there and Google all day and find your vendors. But it's just so much easier to talk to somebody who's like, I've worked with all these people. I've seen them. I know your personality. I know their personality. You guys need to meet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so aside, we're getting close to the end here. So let me ask you this. Aside from planning weddings, like if you were doing something else with your life, what would you be doing? Like, what are your other major hobbies? What are you passionate about?
I feel like I'm happiest when I'm creating. Honestly, I've done so many different things. And the happiest times are when I'm passionate about doing something creative. So I thought about this and I was like, even if it's like I used to make jam at home. And I used to, like it could be as simple as making a sauce or making a jam or something. Anything that gets me. I mean, I love food too. So I think if I weren't doing this at a capacity of event planning and being creative that way, it would definitely be something to do with food.
Okay. You like to cook?
I love to cook.
Yeah.
I think that's how I unwind, especially after a crazy long weekend. I'm just like, I just want to be at home and be in comfy clothes and turn on some jazz and open up a bottle of wine, get some fresh bread and, some deli meats and cook and eat and, just be home with the family. I'm such a homebody.
Yeah, me too. And it's a battle when you work this kind of job where you're on site a lot and doing this stuff. And a lot of them are long days and you're out for 10 hours. I'm like, I just want to be home.
Yeah. I mean, like when I think about that, I'm like, at least when I'm doing that and it is tiring, sometimes it is hard on your body. You don't know that the time is going by because you're so in love with this job that you do. I'm so, I'm like, I can't believe I get to do this for a living and be creative. So when I am, working those 16-hour days, sometimes we wake up at 5 a.m. We don't get home until 9 p.m. After breakdowns or whatnot. At the end of the day, I'm like, wow, at least it doesn't feel like what I felt like doing these corporate jobs where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't like what I'm doing. but I
Right.
actually do love it. And I think the only other thing that I would find that much love in is being in the kitchen or something to do with food.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, if the wedding industry starts to get slower and the events start to slow down, maybe we'll find you opening a restaurant or something one day. Who knows?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. If just real quick before we go, if you could choose your favorite type of food, either to cook or to eat, what would it be? Like favorite type of cuisine?
Tacos. Tacos,
Tacos. Okay, cool.
100%. Oh
Got
my
it.
gosh, I don't know. I think I'm spoiled because I have LA right here.
Sure.
Best tacos ever. You can get,
Yep.
street tacos for $2 or fancy tacos for like $5, but they're all great,
Yeah.
all
They're
wonderful.
so good.
I don't know. I don't think I
Yeah.
can ever move out of SoCal because of the taco scene here is amazing.
Yep.
And
But
even at home, Taco Tuesday is so easy. We just, make our own chips and salsa. My
yeah.
husband's like frying up tortillas, and we make our own chips and dip, and I don't know, tacos are life.
Right. Yeah, I came back from Australia yesterday and I got back to the States after 3.5 weeks. And the first thing me and my wife said was, we need Mexican food.
Yes.
I was like,
Oh
we
yeah.
need it right now.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing we did was get Mexican food, and it was great. Anyway, before we get out of here, is there anything else you wanted to kind of mention? Anything else we missed? Anything else you want people to know? I mean, obviously we will link to all your social media and everything. So people know where to find you, how to get in touch with you should they be booking an event. But is there anything you kind of wanted to mention before we hop out of here?
Yeah, the only other thing is, we're always pivoting, always. I think, the one thing I learned from COVID is you have to continue to evolve and pivot your services. And, we were so excited, like 2024, we've been able to have a small little kind of creative space. It's called the Anerton Warehouse. And
Oh, cool.
It's an extension of our home base, our workshop. So we have, our offices. I'm in one of the offices right now. And then we have our workshop where we do all of our custom builds, like backdrops and painting and,
Oh, wow.
all that sort of stuff. And then extending out to that, we have 1,000 square feet of like creative space. So, we use it for photo shoots. We use it for, any photographers who want to come in and do mini sessions. We've done birthday parties, baby showers, bridal showers, and workshops. If a creative wants to come in and have a class, teach a workshop, and get some students in, we've done that. So yeah, we're really excited. It's just like a blank canvas for people to come in and just use it. And I think as long as if I'm creating, that's when I'm happy. So I think this venue, we're so excited about, or not venue, but creative space, because we want to be able to provide that. Like, my challenge, planning little parties is, where do I have my party? I just want an open space where I can put things together, invite some friends. And that's what we created.
Great. Where is it located at? Just so I know.
It's in Fullerton.
It's in Fullerton?
Mm-hmm.
Great. That's awesome. And you got that recently? Is that a new kind of addition?
We just finished construction in November or December, and we started offering it in January or February on Pure Space. We're on Pure Space, and we have an Instagram, the Anerton Warehouse. And I actually am gonna have a site visit right now after I get off this call, meeting a client here for another birthday. Yeah.
Great. I love it. Well, I'll also link to that too, and I'm going to follow you guys after this. So that's really exciting. That's exciting. I'm happy for you guys. I'm happy you got that space. That's just great. That's just expansion, and that's going to be a really cool addition.
Thanks, Shawn.
So
yeah.
Glad to hear about all that. Anything else before we sign off? I know you got to go meet a client, and I got to get back to helping people plan their events as well. So we should probably do that.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Shawn. It was so fun to talk and chat, and I'm glad we finally aligned our schedule.
Yes. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. It's been great. And we'll talk soon. All right.
Okay. All right. Have a good week.
I will. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.